Our next guest is Dr. Daniel Zopoula, pastor of Miss City Church here in Lethbridge and founder of Bridges of Hope humanitarian organization, also author of the book, The All-for-Nothing Marriage, Why Your Marriage Will Kill You Before Death Do You Part. That's quite interesting. Welcome to BCN, Daniel.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
That's quite the interesting title, The All-for-Nothing Marriage. Tell me a bit about it. How'd you come up with that name?
Well, I have experienced marriage in a very unique way, being in a cross-cultural marriage. First of all, I came to the marriage thinking that I know everything and I'm going to teach my wife how to obey me, how to... You've been married for 30 years, so you know exactly what happened.
It's teamwork.
I just thought I had an idea of marriage before I got married, and then now, after being there 20 years, I understood marriage as being now a different thing. I realized all of a sudden that the only thing that can make a marriage work and the only environment that is safe, healthy, and helpful is a place where each of the couple die to themselves.
And so, communication is really important as well, isn't it?
Yeah, but
right?
Most of the time that's what they say is communication, but part of it, actually the bigger deal is actually die to yourself. I just say, why, I got married to my wife, in the beginning I say, well, can you serve me? And I realized that I get ticked off because she's not serving me the way I want her to serve.
So put your spouse's needs before your own?
Oh, yeah, my brother. You have to put her need before your own.
And, well, yes, dear. We learned that at an early age, do we not?
Yes, dear. You learned that. I did not learn that one. So, yeah. But that's part of the challenges we found. So when we got married, I realized very quickly, the only way for me to get out of this marriage and to get something of worth from this marriage is to die to myself. So my wife and I really wrote this together. In fact, my kids were very helpful in it. And we realized we have to die to yourself to make a marriage work.
Now, lesson 1 in your book is called Sometimes the Map is Wrong. Mm-hmm. I think most of us sometimes have unrealistic expectations going into a marriage. Tell me about the map. What does that map look like?
Well, I think in terms of marriage, before coming to marriage, they tell you have to actually make sure you find somebody who is compatible to you, somebody who have the same value, somebody who have the same purpose as you.
So opposites attract. We've heard that expression before. Maybe long term, that's not the solution.
It's not. That's what I'm finding. Yeah? It's not the solution. So what happened is that you think that you're compatible, you get married, and suddenly you realize, oh my goodness, with the seasons of marriage changing, you realize that you cannot operate on compatibility anymore. And so in my journey, I found that many people, they are very compatible, right? But they're happily divorced.
Now, you say what creates a phenomenal marriage as well in your book is something called primary love.
That's right.
Can you explain what that is?
Yes, that's, I think I drew a lot from the scripture when they talk about agape. That kind of love that you give without expecting anything, unconditional love. And I find that the kind of love that is required in the marriage is a kind of giving of yourself unconditionally without expecting anything in return.
Sometimes couples like to point the finger at each other. It's your fault we're in this situation. No, it's your fault. But you talk about the 100 to none principle. Can you explain?
Yes, that's really true. I think one of the things I really encounter in marriage have been, I want you to give to me, I'm expecting a lot. So the 100 to none method is actually a principle where I just say, I'm going to give everything that is in me, I'm just going to give it to you. Whatever you give to me, I'm prepared to receive. But my love to you is a gift with no condition to it. So it used to be, some people say, well, marriage is about a 50-50 proposition. I bring 50%, you bring 50%. The new method I'm suggesting is that, how about, let's make it 100 to none. I give you everything I've got, and I expect nothing. The day I begin putting expectation on my marriage, expecting of you and demanding and putting demand on you, is the day I really lose my marriage.
Now, you make a statement about marriage that sometimes messes with the traditional view of marriage. You challenge us not to find the right person to love, but is to love the person you find. Tell me a bit more about that.
Well, this is drawing from the idea of compatibility, that I had to find somebody who is compatible to me, meaning somebody who shares my same values, somebody who believes the same thing that I believe. But with the seasons of life, things change. The question is that when my belief change, how do we do compatibility? And I think the most important thing for people is to begin loving the person that you found, the person that God brought to you. Not begin to say and accuse like Adam and Eve and say, it's the wife that you placed before me, in front of me. It's she caused me to sin. But actually to focus more on how do I create space in my heart to love? Because love is the solution to marriage. It's not compatibility that is a solution.
What do you say to a couple who's been married maybe 10, 20, or even 30 years and say, I love this person, but I'm no longer in love with that person? How do you respond to them?
Well, that I tell them the most important thing that they're missing is that is connection. Because in the relationship, sometimes we get caught up with all the busyness of life. I got to do this. I got to get the kids to school. I got to do that, and so much that we lose track of our spouse. We are not even present in our marriage.
So date nights are still very important, isn't it?
Date nights are very important, but actually just taking time to just be and be present. Sometimes we just don't have time to be next to someone else. We don't have to say anything. We don't have to fix anything. We just have to be with somebody. And I believe the idea of connecting to one another, if the enemy wants to actually disrupt our connection to one another, and he'll bring busyness. And now we get so caught up with too much that we do, and we don't even take time to look at each other and to say, honey, how are you doing?
How important is listening when it comes to the long-term success of a relationship?
And that is actually one of the biggest things, empathic listening. Because in this world of noise, high noise, we are too caught up with trying to explain ourselves, which is educating, and which is one of the things you notice in people who have addiction. They want to explain themselves. They don't want to take time to hear, to seek to understand. Like St. Francis said, Lord, help me that I may seek to understand instead of being understood. So listening is a process whereby I yield to the other. I create space for their presence to count more than anything. So tell me more about you. So, and as I seek more to understand, and as I understand more my spouse, actually connection is created. The gel and the glue that is required for life manifests, and our relationship grows and become a tree of life.
Many marriages encounter problems along the way as we go through life, the peaks and valleys, as we know.
Right.
Now, you say in your book as well that sometimes as a man or a woman, you shouldn't necessarily solve the problem right away, but just work more on that connection, as you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah. Yes, that's very important. Consider this, 87% or more of the problem in the marriage cannot be solved.
Really?
They cannot be solved. And in fact, the more you try to solve them, the more problem you create. Maybe the Lord call us to live with problem and to be in the presence of them and to not be intimidated by them. So I say, instead of focusing on trying to solve your problem, focus on connecting. Because I know lots of people who have solved their problem, the problem in their marriage, and they're happily divorced too. So I say, for a while, put aside and set aside all the problems in your marriage, set aside all the bickering, and just focus on connecting. Yes, your husbands have some issue. Yes, your wife has some issue. But let's not focus on that. Just, and especially when people come for coaching, everybody is focused on solving their problem. And I say, for a while, we're going to make a contract. For the next 4 weeks, you will actually put your problem. I even have them list all their problems. And they give it to me. I put it in an envelope. I say, we're going to store it. And we're going to leave it aside. And we're going to work on your connection. When you begin this, you will be shocked at the progress, the relationship, the quality of your relationship. Every person I've had across my desk, their relationship, they get better and better. I have 4 couples who finished reading this book. Some of them were just divorcing. They say, we're not divorcing anymore. Because they made the problem the issue. And I say, no. Your biggest problem is love, is connection. It's not the kids not waking up on time. It's not your spouse. It's just connect. God made us people who are supposed to gel and to be one another.
Why is it that sometimes we put unrealistic expectations on our marriage?
Wow.
Why do you think that is?
That's education. Because we are taught, we are told you have to get something. That's what the book says. It's not about getting. It's about giving away. So what's your gift? My love for my spouse is a gift. It's not required. Actually, it's my gift to her. Her love for me is a gift. By the way, I say to her, even sex is a gift. It's not required. It's not required. I receive it as a gift. And so it doesn't demand.
But it helps with that connection. That intimacy is so vital to a successful marriage,
but
right?
It's not required. It's her gift to me. But we are taught you have to get this, you have to get that. And I say, who told you that? And then we end up demanding more and more and more and more. We suffocate our spouse. And sometimes a lot of marriages, when I see, they're miserable. The people in them are miserable. I feel so sorry for them. I've seen at least maybe this past couple of years, maybe a couple hundred couples. It's not easy for people.
You know what's interesting too is I've seen couples sometimes, they go on vacations apart, separate.
That's right.
And they've been married for 30, 40, 50 years.
That's right.
I thought vacations you're supposed to go out together as a couple all the time, but they said, no, we're very happy when we go our separate ways sometimes for 1 or 2 weeks, and then we get back together again.
Yes, and there's a chapter in the book about that there are some people, they actually, a great friend of mine, that's what they do. He goes for a week, and then she comes 3 days before the end of the weeks, and she begins, so they can take it together for 2 days, and then he leaves, and she takes a week. And some people, they find that this works for the rhythm of their relationship. Certainly, it worked for them. They've been married for over 40 years, and so it's just find the rhythm that works for you and operate in that, and stay faithful and be to your own self. Be truthful, and I think there are different models of relationship that works for people, and we just have to find the one that works for us.
Now, your last chapter, you talk about why mom was right about marriage.
Wow.
Can you briefly explain why mom was right?
Yeah. Well, I barely know my mother. When I was born during a great moment of famine, which she ended up dying in the process. But my mom, I was the fruit of her second marriage. In her first marriage, she had to flee in the night because of violence, and there were quite a lot of things in that marriage that made it impossible for her to
And that was in Burkina Faso?
That was in Burkina Faso, and she got married probably around 13 years of age. She was very young in those days, and so she fled in the night and to save her life. But she just had a baby, so she ended up naming her firstborn a baby. She's still alive, which is basically it's an expression which say there is no good home.
Wow.
And there is no good home. And then in her second marriage, she thought it would be better to my dad, and she encountered some of the same problem. And then she named the firstborn of her second marriage the word to, which means there is no good home except perseverance. And so by that, my mother made a statement that if you are looking for the perfect home, you won't find it. The only place that you will find peace is a place, the place of perseverance, the place of love. Like 1 Corinthians 13, love is patience. And she find that her life will be more fulfilled if she remain committed in the marriage that she received, invest the best that she has in it, and just give the very best that she has. And that's why I spoke about her story. And she lived a very, very miserable life, very painful, and yet she remained faithful till she died before the age of 30.
Dr. Daniel Zopoula, Senior Pastor with Mid-City Church in Lethbridge and author of the book, The All for Nothing Marriage, available on Amazon. Thanks a lot for your time today.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Thank you.
On behalf of all of us here at BCN, I'm Hal Roberts. God bless, and thanks so much for watching.